Once Human is set to have its full mobile release, I'm going to go over all the details there, a pre-guide on server selection and everything included, as well as an additional FAQ. We'll also go over a few starter tips and tricks. We'll then move on to some new events that coincide with the mobile launch, some new rewards up for grabs, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, world? It's Utopia back into another video. Today we're checking out all things Once Human. So as you've seen, and depending on when you're watching this video, the mobile launch has been upon us. And again, depending on when you're watching this, it might already be out. But it does launch on April 23rd at 5 p.m. PST, which the time conversions there are 7 p.m. CST, 8 p.m. EST. Any other time zones, I'll have a time converter link down below in case you want to check that out to see when it actually does launch. Now, there was some preload times, but the preload time has already started, so you can already pre-download and preload Once Human, as I already have it on my phone ready to go. There was a character creation start time, but that is now closing. So probably when you're watching this video, that is already closed. You were able to pre-create your character, but again, that is only if you are new to the game, or if you want to play on the mobile-only servers. You can always use your QR code from PC to copy your character over. Although again, if you are playing from PC or you already have a PC character, you can just log right in. It looks like there was also a character preview screen where you could check out your character in different outfits if you wanted to go ahead and purchase those. Again, that seems to be down, but you might still be able to check that out, or at least before you enter into the game. I've went over this several times here now, but we do have the system requirements, where those do cover a plethora of devices, both Android and iOS, as well as their model chipsets that are required, a Snapdragon 845, which is the minimum, and that is a pretty universal CPU on the Androids, but they do recommend a newer Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, and Android 8.0 is the minimum there. For the iPhone, the minimum is the XS, however they do recommend an iPhone 13 Pro. iOS 12 is the minimum, but the recommended is iOS 15. They do claim that it requires around 25 gigabytes of storage, however I was able to download this and only used around 19 gigabytes, at least during the beta test, so it does seem around that. Sometimes they do claim a bit of extra storage space just in case though. We also do have a fully laid out FAQ. As I said, if you already have a PC account, you can log in. You can check out the different platforms here, where it does say you can play the PC version and want to use the existing character on mobile. That will work with Loading Bay, Steam, and Epic Games, both through the Google Play Store and iOS. Now, there is one stipulation there. If you do make your character and create your character on the mobile version first, you actually do have to play it through the Loading Bay client. So as you see here, Steam and Epic Games are not supported for both iOS or Google Play. So essentially, if you do create your character, if you're a new player starting out on mobile and want to play on PC, you will have to use a Loading Bay account if you ever do go to PC. I use Loading Bay. It's actually a quite decent launcher and has really good download speeds, so there really isn't any issues there. And it is NetEase's official launch platform. Now, they have a bunch of troubleshooting steps here. If your game crashes, if you need to lower the graphics settings, essentially if your game is lagging. The reason being is your device might not be up to the certain standards to actually perform at those higher graphic settings. You can turn different effects down, shadow quality, there's a bunch of different graphic settings you can cap out here, as well as your frame rate overall, and just adjusting the resolution. However, if you do encounter any errors, they actually do have an in-game customer support. This is in the same location as it is on the PC release, but it's actually accessible right from the top menu screen. As they showcase here, you hit the little button on the top right, and then you can hit customer support and the microphone icon, where you can then contact customer support. And they are, from what I've seen, actually really fast on getting back to you, again, both in-game and out. Now, once you do download the mobile version of Once Human, you actually do have to download additional packages there. So originally, it is only around 3 to 4 gigabytes. However, after that point, once you launch, you will have an update as well as having to download certain packages. The initial package is around 6.4 gigabytes, while the other complete package for the other regions is around 4.8. And then there are additional packages for Prison vs. Clash and The Way of Winter. So depending on what server you select, there is depending on what packages you might want. You don't have to download all of them if you are going to only play on one of the scenarios, but more than likely you should switch around and swap around to each. So I would recommend downloading all of them as long as you have the space. Speaking of server selection, they do have the server access flowchart here, where it essentially goes over what server you should select depending on which. Where Manabus is essentially the PvE server, Evolution's Call is the PvP version of Manabus, where they do have wars, while the PvE version just has where you fight bosses. And then Prison vs. Clash is the PvP scenario where you are fighting against other factions. There are 2 factions there that you can select. And The Way of Winter is another version of PvE, but it is in a winter section or a winter zone. It does also have a hot area or a hot zone, and there is some differences there between those PvE versions. However, once you do select your PvE version, you can then select based on your preferred scenario and enter the server. There is a discrepancy there though. If your friend's server is full, or if you want to queue up with your friend, you will have to use or ask for their invitation code. Otherwise, you're going to have to select select another server if they don't have an invitation code, or they can't provide you one depending on if the server is too full. Now again, depending on when you're watching this video, it's probably going to give you a network error. That's because it's not live as of just yet. Once those servers go up though, you will be able to enter. Now there is one cool thing about this. If you did want to create a new character and you wanted to play with mobile only players, there is actually an option for mobile only servers, where essentially you cannot access those servers on PC. So even if you're using a loading bay client or you're using the loading bay client, you can actually not play on those. If you're trying to play from the PC at least. You will have to play on your mobile device. So pretty cool there for newer players that just wanted to play on the mobile versions. Or if you just wanted to try a mobile version character and you didn't want to go against PC players, you could select that. On that selection screen, it will tell you and display mobile only. I do believe these are the new servers that are mobile only launch. They don't say that exactly here, but these are the new server IDs during this launch. So they have these listed out for every single region and every single server selectable. Seems like there is one for each. Moving on here to all platforms and events there. And if you are a newer player, if you want, you can use my invitation code and receive 10% additional experience to both your character and your battle pass. So that'll kind of help fast track you through it. There's also a full set of benefits here that I can share to you, which include the new crossbow as well as a full jaw set. There's some additional goodies in there that you can claim. So some helpful starter gear as well as some helpful XP. Again, I'll put my invitation code on the screen as well as in the description, where you can head to the Visual Wheels tab, the Gather Friends tab, and you can actually use it in the redeem code section, or you can head to the link that I'll put down below and then log in with your account and link it that way. Either way should work though. They are celebrating the mobile launch, of course, and they are doing some mobile launch Twitch drops. They do have a ton of goodies here to give away. Crimson Fury hat, a formula for the Happy Holiday statue, looks like a little bunny creature that you can have in your base, and even a vehicle paint holiday skin for your trucks. One of the first ones there for that actual truck. That's pretty cool there. You don't have to keep it just yellow if you don't want to anymore. Now those will be cumulative all the way to 6 hours of watch time in order to unlock that truck skin, so you will have to have 6 hours to unlock everything in total. Now there is a specific way to actually get these rewards on an iOS device, where if you are on iOS, you will have to actually go through this method of going through twitch.com, and then you actually have to request the desktop version, as it seems like the mobile version of Twitch doesn't actually have the drops inventory. So if yours doesn't and it doesn't work through the app, you can then head to Safari and use this method to obtain those drops, where again you will have to request the desktop website. Then you can navigate to the drops inventory and claim those rewards. Although from my end, it actually does look like there is a drop and rewards section. This might be the case if you don't have the application or can't get it, but I'm even on an older updated version, and yeah, I have the drops and rewards tab. Just click your bottom right profile and then head to drops and rewards and you can claim it from there. There is another additional mentionable here from the community. Seems like some people after the update had their body type changed, or this person's character was completely changed in nearly every category. However, it does look like once they relogged, it swapped back to their normal character. This seems to happen time to time with certain updates. Again, if it does happen to you, you can contact customer support. I would just recommend, like they did, try to relog a few times, even to log out for 15 to 30 minutes and let it reset. Normally that's when it makes your body disappear out of the server. Then you can try logging back in and it should be all good and fine. Moving on, we did have that new update. I covered that in depth in my last video, where I talk about the new lighting system and a lot of the new systems that are brought in. Now I've had this question asked both on YouTube and my Discord. People are wondering where the new lighting setting is. However, it does seem like it's enabled by default, as I can't seem to find that option anywhere in the performance tab. I have everything at high and very high settings and full epic. Essentially, I have everything on the highest setting, where it does seem like if you do go below a certain level setting, that's going to turn off that static GI or that new lighting, although it might be incorporated entirely. I'll try to get some more answers on that. I've tried to go in depth with this. It seems like it just is enabled by default. There is some issues right now with the new lighting system. I have noticed some flickering with the new lighting, especially when moving out and about. Again, hopefully they do get that one fixed sooner than later. Although I have noticed the shadows do actually look quite better, especially for my character shadows. I haven't really noticed too much improvement with my character, at least with the lighting. Again, as I've always had everything on very high, I assume people on the lowest graphics settings would have probably seen the best improvement there. Although one good thing to note is I didn't see any decrease in performance. In fact, it seems like I actually gained a little bit of performance there, so pretty cool to see overall. We have one more last minute mentionable here, which goes over the Once Human timeline. So if you did want to catch up on the story and you are a newer player, you can check out this full diagram that goes through all the events and the current timeline. Pretty cool there. Maybe I'll go through it eventually and we'll cover all the details with the story. Overall though, it should about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuce.